the session.
Good morning to everybody. I am Shri Mukherjee, retired director from Chhattisgarh State Power Distribution Company Limited. I worked about 42 years in the field of electrical distribution and as well as commercial and regulatory affairs of State Electricity Board. I retired from the service in the month of February 2020. Today's topic, which is given to me, is issues related to power purchase in distribution utility. I think audio is clear. Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes.
And video is also clear.
Yes,
Yes, sir.
Okay. Just I brief what is power. Actually, what is power mean? Power is one of the most critical component of infrastructure, crucial in economic growth and welfare of any nation. The existing development and adequate infrastructure is essential for sustained growth in any economy of any country. India power sector is one of the most diversified in the world. We see that in the India we have sources of power generation range from conventional source such as coal, ignite, natural gas, oil, hydro, and nuclear power to viable non-conventional sources such as wind, solar, agriculture, and domestic waste. Sustained economic growth continue to drive electricity demand in India. We observe that the demand of electricity in our country has increased in manifold and expected to rise further in the year to come. If you see the per capita consumption of electricity in India, which is only 16.3 unit in the year 1947, which has now increased to 1181 unit in 2018-19. Today, India is top 5 countries in the world in generation and as well as consumption also. Today, I share some procedural and commercial aspect of power purchase by distribution utility. Basically, primary business of distribution utility is to make available electricity to its valuable consumers at reasonable rate. The power should be reliable as well as its rate should be reasonable. Prior to enacting of Electricity Act 2003, Electricity Board was functioning in every state doing business of all three, that is generation, transmission and distribution of electricity within the state. Now after enacting Electricity Act 2003, the generation, transmission and distribution business are separated and these three activities are being done by three independent companies. I think it is almost all state except one or two. Purchasing of power is being done by all the distribution utility for supplying to this consumer. The purchasing of power, what I think is not similar to purchase of other commodity like cement or steel or anything, because we have to purchase it with zero inventory. That is, as we all know that generation, transmission and distribution and consumption of electricity take place at real time. We cannot have any system till now to keep the energy available at some location and use it when we need. Generation it took at real time basis. At present, India is having one grid. One grid means from northeast to southern part of India and north to western part India as connected to one grid. Any surplus or deficit of energy in any part of India on real time create serious and grid security problem. We have observed a serious grid security problem on 30 and 31st July 2012, when most of the state of northern and eastern side in the eastern part of India affected mostly more than 400 million people are affected due to shortage of power. We are trying to avoid such such thing happen in future by maintaining.
Vivek?
Hello. Hello.
Sir, you want to share your presentation?
Yes, sir.
Or,
I will continue. I will go. I will.
Okay.
I will. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So like this, we just in our next some few presentation, I will just show how the power purchase procurement is being done by distribution utility and how its tariff is decided and how it is energy accounting is being done. In the presentation, the main agenda of this presentation is key consideration of power purchase. Second is power scenario and variation of demand in the state and country, procurement planning of power in the state, procurement process, energy accounting, tariff and billing of thermal generation, and question and answer if any. Now the first slide, why the power procurement required by the distribution utility. Enacting of Electricity Act 2003, which provide that distribution utility should maintain a efficient, coordinate, and economical distribution system in its area of supply, so that.
Excuse me, sir. We are not able to see any slides.
Yes,
sir.
yes. Sorry, sir, but I think they're not. You sir, have you shared your slide? Are you in sharing mode?
Yeah, I am in sharing mode. Just.
Sir, we could try again it.
It is not the same.
No, sir, we are unable to see your presentation.
Just a minute.
Sir, when you move your cursor on the screen, now one toolbar will come and one upper arrow will be there, sir. Through that you can share actually. Yes, sir. Now it is visible, sir. Now you can press F5, sir, for full screen presentation.
Okay, just.
Yes, sir. Now it is visible, sir. Thank you.
Yes, now it's visible, sir.
फोटो आना चाहिए ना. Now it is visible.
Yes, sir,
Yeah.
it is visible.
Very clear.
Okay. Now, as I earlier I was saying that the main duty of distribution utility is to maintain an efficient and coordinate and economic distribution system, so that each and every consumer in the state or in the area of distribution utility shall get reliable power. Secondly, as the duty of distribution utility is to supply power, it naturally we have to procure power from sources to supply to the consumers. Now, what are the key considerations for power procurement? We have observed that cost of power purchase is a serious concern for the distribution utility. It is directly affect the consumer tariff. power purchase contribute about 80% to 85% of total yearly expenditure of distribution utility. You will see that the most of the part of the expenditure of any distribution utility goes to in the head of power purchase. As such, we have to see that the power which we are purchasing should not be much higher side so that it will adversely affect the cost to the consumers. Secondly, what we observe that the demand of any state or demand or area, it is varies from season to season. That's in summer we observe that is power demand is much higher, where in the winter we observe that the power demand is low. So the procurement planning should be such that we should maintain the demand of the in the entire year, depending upon variation, considering the variation in the signal. Any surplus or deficit of the ability of power creates serious grid problem. We observe that in there is a shortage, the frequency goes down, and which will create the operation of the create the problem in the operation of the grid. Similarly, if there is any surplus in the power in the grid, it will create the high frequency, which will also affect the grid security problem. The distribution utility and state load center, actually they are mainly responsible entity to maintain real-time grid operation and dispatch obviously within the state at secure and economic operation of the state grid. Now, if you see the power scenario of India as on 31st August 2020, the total installed capacity what is available in the India is about 372 gigawatt, out of which the thermal generation capacity is about 231 gigawatt, which is about 62% of total generation. And hydro is about 88.79 gigawatt. Hydro is about 45.7 gigawatt. And nuclear is about 6.7 gigawatt, and renewable energy sources, it is about 45.7 gigawatt, which is 12% of total generation. This is what the different source of power generation available in India. The installed capacity share, if you go to the share of the installed capacity, it is state sector is having about 28% state generation capacity, and 25% is about central sector, and private generation capacity is about 47% of total installed capacity. We observe that the power generation in private sector is continuous growing in the growing trend. The All India power scenario of 2019-20, we have peak demand. It is all India basis peak demand. It is 1,83,804 megawatt, and the power availability at that time was 1,82,533 megawatt. There was hardly deficit of 1,271 megawatt. We can see that for meeting peak demand, we are at par with the demand which was available that time, and we were able to meet the demand. Similarly, if you go to the energy requirement, then is it all India basis, it is about 12,91,010 million unit was the requirement. As against this requirement, the energy which is made available was 12,84,444 million unit. There was shortage of energy in terms of energy about 6,566 million unit, which is very less, and we can say that in India, we were able to meet our all power requirement throughout the year. Now this is a scenario of variation in demand in the country. As earlier I told that the electricity consumption and demand not remain constant throughout the year. It varies varies according to signal changes. In this scenario, we see that in the month of June, there was the maximum peak demand, which is 1,83,804 megawatt, and in the month of November, it is hardly 1,56,113 megawatt. That means there is difference in maximum demand about this 30,000 megawatt during the entire season. So that the main problem with us that we should have to plan in such a way that neither there is surplus in power availability nor in the shortage in power availability. This scenario of difference of demand is also occur in state to state. This is the example for two states. I have taken two states. One is Chhattisgarh and one is Uttarakhand. In Chhattisgarh, you will observe that maximum demand occur in the month of July 2019. It is which goes up to 4,746 megawatt, and minimum goes to 3,548 48 megawatt. You will see some interesting aspect in this, that the peak demand which is occur in the state of Chhattisgarh, which is in the month of July, whereas in Uttarakhand, this is the graph of Uttarakhand, it is goes in the between December to February. This is what happened in throughout the India, particularly the state which are Jammu and Kashmir, Uttarakhand, Himachal Pradesh. These are the states in which the maximum demand occur in the month of in winter, whereas in the plain area, the maximum demand occur generally between April, May, June, July. So the planner of Chhattisgarh and planner of Uttarakhand, they have to make their power availability such that they could make the power available to the consumer depending upon the seasonal variation. In earlier slide, I saw that the variation demand throughout the year, whereas the demand is also varies in 24 hours in a day. This is the graph of Chhattisgarh. The demand, projected demand is 24 hours timeline which is given. You will observe that demand in a day is varying from time to time, starting from 1 hours to 24 hours. The maximum goes in 18 to 18:15 time, whereas minimum goes at 2 hours afternoon at 14 hours. So we have to make power available in the state such that the power we can make the power demand meet, and as well as there is neither shortage nor excess power in the grid, so that threatening of grid can be occur. Now, the state utilities which they are procuring power, the different sources. These sources are your own generation in the state. These are the generation capacity available in the state, and allocation of power from ISGS. ISGS means Central Government of India, NTPC, NHPC. The Government of India allocates some power to each and every state. That power is also made available to state. Purchase of power from IPP within the state. If the power, some IPPs are commissioned or established in the state. So we can purchase power from the IPPs in the state. And second is IPP from outside the state. We can also have to purchase power from the outside the state depending upon requirement. And one last thing is renewable purchase obligation. Government of India and regulation stated that out of total requirement of energy, it is mandatory for each and every distribution utility to purchase some renewable purchase power from renewable sources. It is the percentage of power to be purchased by the distribution utility is decided by the State Deputy Commission as well as the guideline issues time to time by Government of India. Now we come to next slide that is the power procurement planning. As we have seen that the demand of the state is varying from day-to-day basis as well as month-to-month basis. As such, we have to make such arrangement of procurement of planning, procurement of power that there is neither any shortage of power in any time block nor any surplus of power in time block. Because the anything whether it is surplus or it is shortage, in case of shortage, either we have to go for load shedding to the consumers, or in case of surplus, it will thread the grid under due to high frequency. The distribution utilities are generally make such arrangement like that. We have go for planning for two type power. One is base load power, which is generally long-term contract, and balance power, which is actually variation of demand due to seasonal, that is procured through short-term basis. This graph what shows the purchasing of power by different utilities on India basis. You can see the 88% of total requirement is made through long-term power procurement process. This is long-term process, and short-term process is about 10%. This short-term power is to meet the variation in the demand due to seasonal variation or day-to-day variation, and 2% power is unscheduled interchange. It is actually purchased from grid. For this, actually we actually not go for any contract or agreement from grid, but it happen automatically. If there is a shortage in demand in the shortage in availability, automatically we draw power from the grid at rate which is linked with frequency. Now, as there is very critical task for distribution utility for planning for future power requirement. This is being done with collecting certain data and adopting the road forecasting method. Actually, we have to plan our requirement long-term basis, medium-term basis, and short-term basis. These are the basic actually data under which we can have planning for how much power we will purchase under long-term contract basis, or in medium-term contract basis, or in short-term contract basis. The long-term and medium-term forecasting is being done. Actually, these are being done through certain data which are actually available available in all India basis and state to state basis. First thing is long-term demand can be evaluated by past trend. We observe the trend of energy consumption the past 5 to 10 years. What was the trend of different category of consumer, the energy consumption? Based on that trend and based on the CAGR, we project the future requirement. What will be the future requirement will be for the state, and that energy requirement is converted to megawatt, and then that megawatt power we plan for purchasing. Second critical driver for procurement for load forecasting is economical, behavioral, and methodological factor of the state. This is also a key factor which is taken in consideration while deciding about long-term and medium-term load forecasting. Third is GDP, the state GDP, population and urbanization of the state. These are three socio-economic factors which is also considered for procurement of planning, procurement of purchasing of power planning. This is a critical example for long-term procurement of power for any utility. This is sample. This is not realistic basis. This is just I want to show how long-term planning is being done. Suppose any state is presently having contracted and available capacity of 5,200 megawatt, and he has to plan for long-term power purchasing planning process. This available capacity, actually this is installed capacity, contracted capacity, or you can say it is installed capacity, but the power which is available to us is not 100% of this, but it is depending upon the net availability factor of that power plant, which is generally assumed at 80% of installed capacity. So this is 4,160 megawatt. This will be available to us to be used for selling to the consumer. Now, suppose in 2019-20 total maximum demand, not base demand goes to 4,090 megawatt, and it is expected that the growth rate of power demand in the state is something around 3% growth. So by 2029-30, the demand will increase up to 5,496 megawatt. Now, if you plot this in graph, this is the availability up to present availability up to 2029-30, and the projected growth is shown this. The rate data shown that we have to plan for purchasing power. Now, the difference of demand and availability is from 52 megawatt in 2021 to 1,336 megawatt in 2029-30. So the state has to plan such that the power, there is no deficit power in 2029-30, and they must be capable to meet out all the demand of the state. So for this period, 2021 to 23, 2 to 3 years, they have to make plan for medium term, and from 23, 24 to up to 29-30, they go for long term. Because if you go for long term planning, the long term power generally purchased from any power plant which is to be established, because readily this much power is not, any generation capacity is not available all the time. So if you go for purchasing power through tender process, the supplier has to establish a plant which will take about 3 to 4 years, and after that only he can supply power. So for long-term process, we go from 23, 24 and onward, and between that we have to go for medium-term planning. This power can be made available from existing power plant which have surplus capacity. Now once we estimate the power requirement, the initiative of power procurement process taken, first we have to go to state regulatory commission. The state regulator, we have to give presentation before state regulator that this much our demand and this is our availability during next 10 years, and we have to go for long-term power purchase procurement process. Commission will study our what we are projecting, what our projected demand, and if he convinced that what we have assessed is realistic basis to some extent, then he will allow us or go for long-term power procurement. Second, next thing what we have to follow is national tariff policy. Government of India notified the national tariff policy which have certain guidelines. Before procurement of power, we have to follow these guidelines. The key features of these guidelines are some point of I want to share with you. That number one is all future requirement of power should continue to be procured competitive process only by distribution licenses. That if you want to go for long-term power purchase problem, then you have to go for bidding process. Until without bidding process, you can't purchase power directly from one-to-one for any generating stations. Second thing is, if you have any contract capacity in any power plant, whether it is Government of India, NTPC, or in private, and if the developer is ready to expand his power plant, in that case, you can go for procurement power from that power plant, subject to again you have to go for approval for commission. But condition is that if the total capacity which you can purchase is 100% of present contract capacity. Suppose you have 400 megawatt present contract capacity from that power plant. That power plant can say sell another 400 megawatt on long-term basis without bidding. Another guideline which is given by national tariff policy is two-part tariff structure should be adopted for all long-term and medium-term contract to facilitate merit order dispatch. One basic concern from distribution utility is that if you go for long-term contract any power plant, and suppose some or other reason your power requirement is not so much that you are required to purchase power from that power plant, in that case, you have to pay the fixed cost liability to that power plant even if no power is purchased by you from that power plant. This is the facility given to the power generating plant in national tariff policy by adopting two-part tariff process. Next one is availability-based tariff is also to be available in the state level. This is a tool. Actually, this is not adopted in any state in the country, but Government of India is insisting for availability-based tariff. These tariffs actually is depending upon the frequency. What the frequency is going on that time, and that tariff should be linked that frequency model. This tariff actually not in India it is not, but in some European country and America in some distribution utility they are actually adopting In India, it is actually not, none of the state utility has adopted this average tariff. Government of India, Ministry of Power also given some guideline for procurement power, that long-term power procurement should be from 7 years to 25 years. That if you go for contract for long-term, it should be minimum 7 years and goes up to 25 years. And for medium-term procurement, it goes from 1 year to 7 years. Means when you find the requirement of power, long-term basis and medium-term basis, these two guidelines to be followed. Now, as Government of India is given guidelines that all future power requirement is to be done through bidding process. Now, for bidding, also Government of India has notified and published the model bidding document. If you want to purchase power from any through bidding process, you have to follow this model bidding document notified the Ministry of Power, and also they have notified the power supply agreement, the draft power supply agreement. In that draft only you have to sign agreement, and the model bidding document which is notified and published by Government of India, this has to be followed point to point. If you want to make any changes in this model bidding document, you cannot do itself, but you have to take immediate permission from State Regulatory Commission that this is the provision in model bidding document, and I want to change this clause by this way. The Commission will see that whether it is good for health of distribution company, or as well as the it will have no adverse effect in the tariff of consumer. They may permit or may not permit. If they may not permit, if they don't permit, then you have to go strictly by model bidding document, or otherwise, if Commission has agreed to change some modification, you can go by that modification also. Similarly, for medium term power procurement, Government of India has notified standard bidding document. For medium term power procurement, we have to go for this bidding document strictly, and also they have notified the standard bidding document. Now, one difference in long term and this medium term bidding process, that Government of India has developed a e-bidding platform which is known as Deep e-bidding portal. Deep means discovery of efficient energy price. We have to go for bidding through this portal only. We cannot independently issue and bid document and call bid from the participant of the generating company, but we have to strictly follow this deep e-bidding portal. Second, the requirement of power must be between 1 year to 5 years. However, period can be extended. Suppose you want to purchase, you have agreement of 4 year in middle term, and if you want to extend this period, then you can 25% of contract period. That means 1 year can be extended with existing PPA under if power is purchased through that medium term bidding process. Now, third thing which we are doing is short term power purchase. As we have observed that our power requirement varies from season to season. Now, if you plan for procurement power based on what we have achieved, what we have reached maximum demand during summer, if you plan to procure that for entire year, then there will be surplus of power in maximum time of the year, which either we have to surrender by paying the fixed cost to generator. That is not actually economically viable for state distribution company, because paying the capacity charges unnecessary is burden to the consumer, which will indirectly hike in tariff. Or if you go for based on the lowest minimum demand entire engine, then we will find that there will be shortage of power entire period. So to avoid this, we purchase long term, as earlier I said, that we go for purchasing to meet the base load on long term basis, and for day to day variation and month to variation we go for short term power purchase. This short term power purchase can be done for part of the day, whole day, week, month, and up to year. And based on what we observe in load forecasting, this short-term power planning is processed. Now, what is constraint in short-term load forecasting? That assessment of short-term load forecasting is much more difficult in comparison to long-term forecasting, because in long-term forecasting we have find some trend of increasing in demand, but in short-term we actually, the assessment is sometimes not 100% accurate, which are due to, suppose we have contracted power from each generators, and sometime one or more generator goes out of circuit. Suppose suddenly 200 megawatt power goes out, or for 2 unit of 200 megawatt, sudden there is drop of 200 megawatt power for a day or 2 day or 3 day. This eventuality has to meet out from certain short-term power purchasing. Secondly, we observe that during a monsoon season, if there is no rain for a long time, for say 3, 4, 5 days, the pump demand is increased abruptly, and our demand goes, which is for which we have actually no planning. So for this also we have to make certain short-term power purchase provision. Sometimes it is actually due to transmission system constraint. Also, we sometimes found that there is shortage of power. Actually, this is happened very occasionally. It is happened, suppose any generator is having connectivity from any transmission system, and if transmission system goes out of circuit, in that case even power plant is ready to supply power, but transmission system is not to wheel that power. In that case also sometimes we face short-term power deficit, and we have to plan for procurement short-term power. Now for short-term power, the different sources available, which is termed as short-term market, that we can purchase short-term power through deep portal, by which we earlier I told that for procurement of medium-term power purchase we go for deep portal, and by deep portal we can purchase power bilateral from any trader or any generator, or if even if some state is having surplus power, they can sell power through power exchange. Power exchange is a very good platform. It is actually generally used for purchasing power for meeting emergency requirement, and power purchase can be done for one block, 1 day, 1 week, and so on. Lastly, thirdly is through unscheduled interchange. It is suppose we have made good plan for procurement to meet our demand on day-ahead basis, but even if there is some eventuality that earlier I told that suppose a plant of 200 megawatt goes off, then suddenly our demand, our availability of 200 megawatt goes off. Now this 200 megawatt purchase to purchase this 200 megawatt power, we required some time. It is maybe 2 hour, 3 hour, or 4 hour, 1 hour. So for this much period, before the time between the going off of power generator and implementation of contract of short-term power, this time the power is made through grid. Grid is actually, you know, that it is independent source of power, and from grid we some for 1 hour, 2 hour, or half an hour we can draw power. Lastly, that is banking of power. In my earlier presentation, I have shown that the power maximum demand is very state to state. That in just like Chhattisgarh, our peak demand goes in the month of April, May, June, whereas in Himachal Pradesh or Jammu and Kashmir, their peak demand goes in the month of winter. So we make an power exchange agreement with state that they can supply power during summer to us, and same power with certain percentage of privilege or incentive we return to that state. In this transaction, actually financial transaction is not occur, but only energy exchange is being done with certain incentive to while returning power. Now, the platform of power exchange at present in India, the 90% power is being traded through IEX. There is two power actually in India. At present, there is two power exchange. One is IEX, which is headquarters is Delhi, and second is Power Exchange of India Limited, headquarters is Mumbai. Both exchanges are working, but almost 90 to 95 power of exchange is being done this IEX, Indian Energy Exchange. And as per recent regulation, the power can be purchased from these exchanges. Number one, on real-time basis. It means actually these power exchanges are being run. The rate of this power exchange is being discovered through bidding process. And in real-time market, if there is any certain requirement, we can go for bidding in power exchange for purchasing of power, and if power is available, the delivery is within power can be made available to us within hour. Second is intraday. Intraday power is also in one medium for selling of power from power exchange. In this condition, the power is made available after 2.5 hours. After 2.5 hours, power is made available to us. Third one is day ahead market. It is a very common market. It is mostly actually the out of total power transaction in the power exchange. Mostly power is delivered in the day ahead market. In this, power is made available for next day. Next day means suppose your requirement is power is for 00 hours for coming day. The bidding process start from 9 morning and window close at 12, means up to 12 o'clock you have to submit your bid, the requirement of for requirement of power or for selling of power. Then power rate is disclosed about 3 or 350 hours, 15 or 16 hours, and after payment or necessary arrangement, the power is made available from 00 hours on next day. Next is term ahead market. It is it is a market. It is a contract in which weekly contact delivery up to 11 days can be made available to us, and also from this daily contact can be done for purchasing of power. Next is for distribution company is, suppose we have one has gone for purchasing power, made contract and everything. Now second thing is how to wheel that power from that power plant to your point of use. For that, CTU and STU is functioning in all over country, and it is the responsibility of procurer utility to get the corridor or wheeling of that power. Means the generation company has responsibility up to deliver power from their X bus, and from their bus bar up to your point of use. You have to make arrangement by getting corridor from central transmission utility or state transmission utility. Any charges required for wheeling this, that is the responsibility of procurer utility. And any loss of wheeling, as we know that in our wire system, the losses is happening. It has to happen, and it is happening. Any loss in transmission system, that is to be also bear by that procurer utility. Now next important thing is when you go for and sign agreement for procurement part, and you have got the corridor. Next thing is how that energy which you are getting from that power plant is accounted, because it is happening, or it is happened that one generator situated in, suppose, Maharashtra is supplying power in the state of Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra and Gujarat. And real time he is injecting power into the grid with the contact for each and every state separately. Suppose each and every state have some share from that power plant. Now, whatsoever power he is injecting into the grid, how that power is accounted for that beneficiary, individual beneficiary, that how much power is accounted for state of Chhattisgarh and how much power accounted for Maharashtra, and what is how much power is for Gujarat and Maharashtra. This is actually real time energy accounting is a very major task, and it is being undertaken by regional load dispatch center or state load dispatch center. This is their major task for real-time energy accounting. Except power exchange transaction, the RLDC and SLDC, they will their duty for energy accounting, but they will do this. They will perform this duty only there is a valid contract or agreement between the buyer and seller. If a generator has a valid contract from buyer and he has an agreement, then only this SLDC and RLDC come in picture and do energy accounting as per guideline given by CSERC in grid code and state load state regulatory commission in their grid code. In India, we have 5 regional load dispatch center. They are situated in 5. Actually, the Indian power sector, power distribution, power network is distributed in 5 regions. The regions are Northern region, Eastern region, northeastern region, western region, and southern region. In each region, there are states situated in that. Suppose that in western region, the state constituted are Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, Chhattisgarh, Gujarat, Goa, and Daman-Diu. These are the states which are constituted in western region. Similarly, northern region and western region, eastern region, and southern region, they are the state. And for each these states and the generators connected with CTU, all the energy accounting is being undertaken by regional load dispatch center. And for state, any generator connected into state transmission system, these and for state distribution utilities, the state load dispatch center is undertaking the energy accounting process. Now, what procedure actually adopted by state distribution utility or state load dispatch center or regional load dispatch center for energy accounting? Now, each and every generator which have contract for supplying power to utility, they actually early in the morning 8, they give the anticipated X power megawatt and megawatt hour generation capability for next day. Means today for that is for following day. Means for 00 hours to 24 hours of next day, what will be his megawatt generation capacity and mega MWA generation capacity for each block. Each block means each block consists of 15-minute time block. Means for 96 block of next day, what will be his generation capacity in megawatt and generation capacity in MWH? He has to give declaration to state load dispatch center. Means suppose any distribution utility, suppose Chhattisgarh having a contact with a power plant situated in Madhya Pradesh, NTPC power plant situated in Madhya Pradesh, and having contact of suppose 100 megawatt to purchase. Then for this 100 megawatt power, he will give schedule for next day that different time block, what will be power that will be made available for Chhattisgarh to state load dispatch center and regional load dispatch center. Getting data from generating stations, the state load dispatch center and regional load dispatch center, they will convey it to beneficiary, means the person, the utilities which are buying from power from that generation, they will intimate that this is your generator has given the generation capability for tomorrow. Now you observe it and take action whether you are require power to wheel from their generating station or not. By 15 hours, 3 p.m., the beneficiary and beneficiary means the buyer entity and generating station, they will have an option if there is any changes. Suppose any distribution utility is based on their load forecasting. If he find that no, we don't require 100% power from that generating stations, he will suggest SLDC, no, we will require only 50% power, and that power for which block, which quantum power he will require, he will intimate to load dispatch center that load dispatch center, that then it intimate to that generator that your beneficiary has given schedule for taking power this time block, this is quantity, and that will be conveyed to generating stations. Now by 8 p.m. in that day, the SLDC and RLDC, they will finalize all the for all generator and for all beneficiary the actual requirement and actual generation. They will finalize that this is generator, they will supply power, this is time block this much, and these are the beneficiary, they will take power this much. Now lastly, there is one option that by 10 p.m. suppose in between there is any signal changes in the distribution utility, or the generator find that there is some technical problem in generation for power for next day, they can intimate by 10 p.m. or by maximum 10 p.m. that this is my change in schedule, or if nobody is given any intimation by 10 p.m., that is from that SLDC and RLDC, they will finalize that schedule, and from that 00 hours next 0 hours for next day, the energy, the power flowing started from generator to that distribution utility. Now this is the graph. Actually, the planning for distribution utility for day ahead planning, next day. That is the, as earlier earlier slide I told that how the generating station give schedule for injecting power into grid and what is the requirement of the generation distribution utility. The distribution utility based on all power available to him from all sources. He prepared a chart for availability power of different time block. This line actually is the power availability of different time block of that distribution utility. Now, second thing that distribution utility is they are doing, they plot an anticipated demand for next day. The second line, this line is the line which that distribution utility find that this will be demand for utility during different time block. Now the red demand which is shown in the graph, these are the time period when the availability is less than demand, and this is the time when the availability of power is more than demand. Now when plotting this graph, each distribution utility plan for next day power procurement under short-term basis. The period when there is surplus of power, actually this is the period when there is surplus power. The utility plan for sale of power in exchange. They will plan that this is the power is our availability is more than demand. We can sell power to exchange, and they plan for selling power. And this area when there is a shortage of availability, they plan for procurement of power from exchange. The different of megawatt availability and demand, they plan for procuring of plant from exchange, and for this they have to bid by 12 hours that this different time block, this much quantity of power is required for purchasing to meet the demand. And similarly, same day in the exchange the utility can sell a power which is made surplus available to them. This is a graph. This is the graph which shows that after doing all exercise, means day ahead, power planning, short term, medium term, long term, even then there is difference in actual power which is anticipated and actual the demand which is met. The thick line is actually actual demand which is occur during different time block, and thin line which is actually this thin line is actually which what the distribution utility has anticipated that this will be our demand. This is actually practical happening every day for each and every distributor, not for Chhattisgarh but all Maharashtra, Gujarat, even Delhi, every state. This is happening and we have to bear for this change in power availability and demand. Next important thing for distribution utility, and it is also the guideline from Government of India, that while purchasing short term, while planning that day ahead procurement, merit order purchase principle is to be adopted. What is the actually merit order purchase? Actually, it is the actually the utility has to see that the total power requirement which actually he want to schedule for next day. He should not purchase any power at higher cost and surrender power of power plant which has low energy charges. For this, actually, before giving final schedule to SLDC, the utility actually do the calculation that suppose instead of Chhattisgarh, we require power from 1000 megawatt from central sector NTPC power plant, and this power is actually scheduled by them 1000 megawatt, and this is from 10 different NTPC power plant. As we know that the rate of energy charge of each and every thermal power plant is not same. So while giving schedule power for next day, we actually see that what is our requirement. Presently, the availability is 1000 megawatt, and suppose our requirement is only 800 megawatt. That means by procuring power from 800 megawatt from ISGS NTPC power plant, we can meet our state requirement for next day. Then to whom we reject, to which generating station we reject to draw power. For that, we plot the rate for each and every generating station, and which are the highest, from the highest rate of energy charge from power plant, we start for rejecting their schedule. Suppose any the rates are varying from 2 rupees to 2 rupees 50 paisa for 10 different generating stations, and by procuring plant up to rate having energy charge of 2 rupees 30 paisa, our demand is met. Then all the generating station whose power rates of energy charge is more than 230, we schedule their power to 0. Means even he is ready to supply power as per our contracted, but we refuse to purchase power from that generating stations. However, in this case, actually what is happening that we have to pay him the fixed charges. The capacity charge we have to pay, but we schedule 0 for energy charges, so that accordingly that generating station reduce their generation, but he will continue to get that his energy charges, fixed charges. Next thing, this rejecting of schedule is not applicable for generating having renewable energy sources. Means we are actually being distribution utility, we are having contact, long-term contact from solar, wind, small hydro, nuclear power plant, etc. These power plant actually, as per regulation and as per directive of Government of India, these are must-run plant. Means you cannot stop taking power from these power plant in any condition. They have to run and they have to schedule and they have to inject power into grid, and you have to purchase power even if the rate of these power plant are much more higher than the generators for whom you have given zero schedule for procurement of next day. I am audible, na? No, actually, hello? Hello?
Yes, sir.
I am audible, na? Actually,
Yes, sir, you are audible.
no response is coming from your side, na, actually.
Yes, audible,
Sir,
sir.
they are just waiting for the question answer session. They will
Okay.
ask you.
Okay. Actually, there is no response from other side, actually.
No, audible,
Okay.
sir.
Okay. Now next is coming. Next we come to revision of schedule. If from 00 hours of any day, when all the generators start injecting power and all the utility is getting receiving power from these generating stations, there are certain instances when due to technical problem generator get out of circuit or get tripped due to force majeure condition. Similarly, there may be some technical constraint in the state due to sudden change in season. Season means suppose there is heavy rain in the state. In that case, the demand will reduce. And similarly, in case of out of generator, the injection of power to the grid and net availability of distribution company is also reduced. In that case, there is provision if this is happening, that suppose any generator is running and at mid of the day, suppose at 14 hours, due to technical reason, the power plant, the generator goes out of circuit. In that case, he will request to regional load dispatch center if generator is connected to central transmission utility or state transmission state. The state utility can also give revision schedule, revision draw schedule from generating stations, and he will apply to SLDC or RLDC that due to sudden drop in my demand in the state, I don't want power from this megawatt from this generating station, this megawatt from this generating station, and based on application, the revision of draw schedule also made effective from 4th time block. Now this is actually energy accounting. Example, actually it is being done by SLDC and RLDC. How the energy supply into the grid to the beneficiary of a generator is accounted on day ahead basis. This is example. Suppose any generator is having capacity of 100 megawatt and he has an agreement to sell his 100% power to some utility. And as I earlier told that he will give schedule for injection for that utility by 8 a.m. He will give schedule for 90 megawatt which he intend to supply or we anticipated to supply in each time block of next day. This is actually 90 megawatt. Actually, he is scheduling having capacity of 100 megawatt. It is only because there is some auxiliary consumption happening in the power plant itself, means it consumes some power for generating some power. So for 100 megawatt, it is generally 6 to 10%. It is auxiliary consumption. Based on his anticipated auxiliary consumption, he has given schedule for 90 megawatt for each time block to be supplied to his buyer by utility. SLDC, after having concern with state that buying entity, he accepts the schedule and finalize that this will be made available to the buying entity. Then what the SLDC will do for next day after completion of that day, if he has given generated all the time, he will schedule that 90 megawatt in 96 block. That means this much unit he has injected into grid, and that is accounted for buyer entity that this much unit he has procured and consumed. Now there is problem with generator, because if even he has given that 90 megawatt power he will supply in throughout the day, and based on 90 megawatt supply that SLDC has accounted that this much energy he has supplied to that utility, but actually what happened that generator never or not in a position to generate 90 megawatt throughout the day. There is a variation. Sometime he may generate 95 megawatt, sometime he may generate 89 megawatt, sometime he may generate 85 megawatt. But SLDC has already accounted that this much amount already being purchased by that utility. Now the difference of energy which has actually not generated by that generator or generated surplus, what will be happen to those units? These units actually being accounted through deviation settlement mechanism. It is a mechanism notified by Central Regulatory Commission and adopted by all state regulatory commission. The difference of actual generation and scheduled generation, it is accounted through deviation settlement mechanism.
मुखर्जी साहब,
यस हाँ बोलिए
सर थोड़ा टाइम जो है ना हो रहा है अब.
अच्छा
जी जी.
ओके नहीं मैं इसको 2-3 स्लाइड और ज्यादा नहीं है, मुश्किल से 8-10 स्लाइड और होंगे. आई विल कंक्लूड. ओके
हाँ हाँ.
ओके ओके
क्योंकि टाइम इज ऑलरेडी 2:10 ना. 2:10 इज आवर क्लोजिंग टाइम.
okay now just complete very short period. Now this is actually metering arrangement in each generating stations. Their meters is installed. It is this meter is called special energy meter. This meter is having capacity to record the average power injected into grid in 15-minute time block in megawatt. This is the actually meter which is this based on this meter the SLDC or WLDC they are actually doing their energy accounting. Now as earlier I told that the difference of actual generation scheduled generation is being done by DSM mechanism. The DSM mechanism is notified by State Regulatory Commission, Central Regulatory Commission, and there is a procedure how, how to evaluate the energy which is surplus or shortage. This is the chart price vector notified by Central Regulatory Commission. The P is shows the average market clearing price of power exchange. That as I earlier told that the through power exchange day ahead market is functioning. The average day ahead rate discovered in day ahead market, the average power that is the basic rate by which in different time block the actual rate is calculated, that which is to be paid by generating company, generating station, or to be receivable by generating stations. This is an example how the DSM charges is calculated on real-time basis. Tariff and billing, as I already told that capacity charge, energy charge, there's two-part tariff is made applicable for buying power purchase from different generating stations. This is an example of how we pay the capacity charge to thermal generating stations. This is suppose X is the total yearly capacity charge determined by a regulatory commission and approved by regulatory commission, that how per month basis these charges is calculated. Similarly, this is the formula for calculating of energy charges. It is energy charges basically depend upon the landed price of primary fuel, the station heat rate, and calorific value of primary fuel and auxiliary consumption of that generating station. Based on this formula, that energy charges is evaluated. Then payment mechanism short-term power purchase. It is single part tariff is applicable in short term. There is no two-part tariff for short-term power purchase. Single part tariff is applicable for short-term power purchase, and based on the agreed rate or discover rate, the power purchase payment is being made. Now, what are the challenges before that our distribution utility? Actually, we have to go for accurate power load forecasting. Real-time monitoring of power is very must, and eventually of shortage of power due to outage of one or more generator and to meet surplus power. This is 3-4 thing which is actually we have to monitor on real-time basis. These all about that power procurement process by distribution utility. Okay, thank you.
Mukherjee Sahab, it is a very good concept, and I think the main uncertainty is that we cannot store the power whatever we are generating.
Yes, that is the main uncertainty.
Neither the purchaser nor the seller.
Yes,
100% sure how much he will generate and how much he will consume. That is
the main concern of distribution utility. We plan without knowing actual generation and without knowing actual demand.
Yeah. And there is no perfect mechanism, I think, to project or to estimate the demand and supply.
Demand supply. It is purely on assessment basis.
Yeah.
It is purely assessment basis.
Sir, there is a question.
There are some questions. You can take 1 or 2 questions.
Okay.
Sir, Mukherjee sir.
Yeah.
Sir, what is the peak time usually from the morning 6 to 9 and evening 7 to 10? What is the peak time?
It is good question. Actually, the peak time is very actually different from different state. In our, just suppose in Maharashtra peak comes in the morning, and in Chhattisgarh peak comes in the evening. In Rajasthan, we observe that in Rajasthan state the peak comes in the day hours. So peak is not firm for each and every state throughout the country, but it is different from different time blocks. Okay.
Sir, there is my question that why ABT tariff is not adopted by Indian distribution companies while European countries are adopting it. What are the constraints?
Actually, it is a good question. Actually, to